Hell no. Nope, nope, no, no, nope, 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 nope. Hello, everyone. This is Mayor Jay Wagner, Mayor of High Point, calling to order our January 19th, 2021 council meeting. Before we begin, I will let everybody know who is here present in City Hall. Councilman Holmes, Johnson, Moore, Williams, Hudson, Jones, Jefferson, and I are all present here at City Hall. And Councilwoman Peters, are you with us remotely?
Yes, I am.
So all 9 council members are present at this time. Let's see. First item on tonight's agenda is I would like to ask everyone to stand for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item after that is our strategic plan update. For that, I believe Councilmember Williams, are you giving an update on that, or is that going to be Ms. Lushmore?
I think I will defer that to staff.
Okay. Anyone from staff have a? Okay.
I'm online.
I hear the voice of Lori.
Can you? Okay, I want to make sure you could hear me. And bear with me, first time I've done this. It's not. Okay, there we go. Y'all see that?
No.
It says I'm sure I don't see my screen.
Working on it. Those of you who are listening in the public, we're waiting on a presentation to come up. Didn't want you to think you've been cut off. Okay.
That you can see it? Okay.
I think we've got it.
Good evening again. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So this is the update for December 2020 for local codes. And the first house I'm going to show you is 512 Hind Street. This is a fairly older case. The owner made a lot of progress and then kind of stopped for a period of time. But this is what the house originally looked like when we first brought it to you all. And the inside, of course, was in horrible condition. This is what it looks like now. And that's the front and then the side view. The owner would not allow us in the house to take interior pictures. But as I understand it, I believe his daughter is going to live there. So it is basically an owner-occupied property as well. The better house that I'm much more happy to show you that was also repaired in December is 1200 Crawford Street. We started our minimum housing case on this in May of 27, and it was not a demolition case. It was just a repair case. And it's been sold 3 times since we originally started, which happens. We have to kind of with that. But the most recent owner purchased it in September of 2020 and then pulled the permits and all in November of 2020 and stated on there they were doing $28,000 for work on the property. And then in December of 2020, they received their CO. And of course, we closed our case. And the property is going to be owner occupied. So that's a We didn't have any original pictures. This is an old one I found where we had posted it for public nuisance, but you get the idea of what it looked like. And this is what it looks like now. So you can see, of course, where they cleaned up around it, the growth and all. And then the inside of it, which looked really nice. So they did a great job, and we appreciate it.
Sweet.
And that's all.
Very good. For those of you in the public who can't see what we just saw, staff just showed us pictures of three what I would call dilapidated houses that the owners have fixed up. That's kind of a byproduct, I believe, of our efforts at blight reduction in High Point. When you're very serious about removing blight, it makes those who own blighted properties a little more serious about fixing them up. So we would much rather have a house fixed up than have it be torn down. So I think that shows that our efforts are working. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment period. There were no public comments submitted for this meeting. If you're listening out there and you would like to submit a public comment, you can submit public comments to council by calling 336-883-3522, or you can email your written comments to publiccomment@highpointnc.gov. You can also drop those off at the City of High Point's utility payment drop boxes on both sides of City Hall at 211 South Hamilton Street, the Green Drive lot and the Commerce parking lot. Because of course, due to COVID, we can't have people here in City Hall for our meetings, but we still do want to hear from you if you have public comments. So take advantage of that. Next is the Finance Committee items. And for those, I will turn the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem Britt Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Wagner. We have two parts tonight. We have our consent agenda items that were discussed. There's 5 of them, beginning with 2021-11 and running through 2021-15 that were reviewed at our regular Thursday meeting. And we're presenting those tonight with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion for approval of the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second, Holmes.
I believe Councilman Johnson got the second one on that one. Is there any discussion on any of the consent items? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. So those items are approved by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a public hearing tonight, so at this time we'll open a public hearing to hear item 2021-16. It's a public hearing concerning a company, Fatessa, and I'm going to call on, we're considering incentives, and I'm going to call on Interim Economic Development Director Sandy Dunbeck to start the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. I'm Sandy Dunbeck, Interim Director of High Point Economic Development. Marshall Yandel, who could not be with us tonight, and I are pleased to bring you this proposed Fatessa project for High Point. Fatessa is a Brazilian company with North American headquarters in Simpsonville, South Carolina, and is considering expanding their business operations in High Point on West Point Avenue. Fatessa announced acquiring Fiber Dynamics at that location in September of last year. The building and site at 200 West Point Avenue is located adjacent to the city's small-scale manufacturing target area and is also located in one of the city's 3 opportunity zones. City staff and others are working to encourage investment and jobs in these areas. A project such as this by a company such as Fatessa continues to speak to the strengths of High Point and Guilford County as a leader in manufacturing. Guilford County's Economic Development Alliance's tagline is "You can make it here." High Point has a long history of making products, from furniture to buses to socks and food. Vitessa will be making specialty fabrics to support the healthcare industry. If the company chooses to grow in High Point, the company would invest $18 million in building upfits and machinery and equipment to add 2 additional production lines. Vitessa has retained all 80 initial positions of Fiber Dynamics and would add 22 new jobs at the facility. These proposed manufacturing jobs would pay from $15 to $19 an hour based upon applicants' experience. The building is provided water and sewer by the city of High Point and is also on the city's electric system. In addition to considering High Point for this facility, the company is considering their other U.S. locations. As the company and its consultants have asked that the city of High Point consider authorizing performance-based incentives for this project, the High Point Economic Development staff recommends authorizing up to $342,720 in cash grant incentives for such a project expansion in High Point. The source of that funding would be the city's Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is funded by general and electric revenues. Any such incentives would be subject to the company meeting benchmarks spelled out in a performance agreement. Payments would be made in installments after the company achieves those benchmarks. Due to the investment potentially being made in 2021 and the jobs potentially being created in 2021 and 2022, we would recommend paying this incentive out over 3 years. The company expects to make its location decision on whether to choose High Point or not within the next 30 days. Company representative and CFO Hal Singley and consultant and counsel Ford Graham of K&L Gates are with us via Zoom this evening. I'd like to now turn the presentation over to Ford Graham, consultant to the project, for his initial comments, and he will then turn it over to CFO Hal Singley.
Thank you, Sandy. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today about Vitessa and its plans to potentially expand its operation in High Point. My name is Ford Graham. I'm an attorney with K&L Gates, and we have 3 offices in the Carolinas, including Charlotte, Raleigh, and Charleston. I'm based out of the Charleston office, and I practice economic development law, not only in the Carolinas, but across the U.S. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Vitessa since they established their first North American operation in 2008. It's a great company, it's growing, and I believe it'll be a great addition to the High Point community. Because the discussion is open to the public and available on social media, I respectfully want to bring 2 things to council's attention before Hal talks to you about the company. One, Vitessa is a privately held company. It's a family-owned corporation. So it's not a large publicly traded entity that has federally mandated disclosure requirements. So it's more like a local bakery or a barber shop in that it submits information to you and your economic development team and governmental entities if it's requested, but it doesn't post all of that inner workings or the reports on the web or on its front door, let's say. And the second thing I want to tell you is that it operates in a highly competitive environment in which its competition is constantly searching the media and the internet for tidbits of information about what its next move is and what it hopes to gain so that it can have a strategic advantage over Vitessa. So because of those 2 concerns, Hal's presentation will focus on the company and its philosophy and will provide a brief outline of the potential expansion here in High Point, but it may be less detailed than what you're used to receiving in open forums from publicly traded companies. And I hope you'll understand that the sensitive nature of its disclosure. And with that, I will hand over the floor to Hal Singley, the Vitessa's North American CFO.
Hi, thank you, Ford. In addition to Vitessa's North American CFO, I'm in charge of the finance function, legal, and IT globally. So I am in charge of our plants all around the world. So Vitessa is a leader. By the way, I've worked for the company for 21 years, 12 years with Vitessa since we met Ford back in 2008, and 9 years prior on the same site in Greenville, working for FiberWeb, who was a joint venture partner with Vitessa. So Vitessa is a leader in one of the world's largest manufacturers of nonwovens, and it's also the Brazilian company with the largest international footprint. So the company, as Ford mentioned, is privately held, and our headquarters are in Brazil, but I happen to sit in the US. We have 23 plants in 13 countries and 5 innovation centers, with 2 innovation centers in the United States. As green is the new thing of the future, we are focusing on sustainable products in our portfolio, and we've won several awards from industry things for being green industry organizations. So on the next slide, you'll see our footprint of where we are located. As you see in Simpsonville, where I sit, we have several global people and a worldwide headquarters in addition to the North America headquarters. The facility we purchased September 30th in High Point, the former Fiber Dynamics company who had been in High Points for many years. We have a plant in Terre Haute, Indiana, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Washougal, Washington, which is just across the river from Portland, Oregon. And then we have a huge concentration in Brazil, in Lima, Peru, and then in Northern Europe and in China. We have a plant as well in India and Thailand. And again, Vitessa is owned by Evra, which is a private Brazilian organization, and 100% of the shareholding is owned by the Ling family, who live in Porto Alegre, Brazil. The next slide shows a little bit about our history and the growth we've had since the company was founded in 1989. So since 2006, Vitessa has installed 23 new production lines, 2 greenfield plants, 2 joint ventures, and 5 acquisitions. 3 of our 5 acquisitions were completed this year in the midst of a global pandemic. The next slide tells a little bit about our identity. You know, our company was founded by Shengmeng Ling, who was our founder, who passed away this year, last year in 2020 at the age of 99. So our values are trust, simplicity and frugality, respect for individuals, transparency, honesty, and integrity. And we accomplish these with our management practices of meritocracy, empowerment and responsible of autonomy of our employees, teamwork, employee development, and our main slogan of always doing more and better with less. Our vision is to be the preferred choice for the supply of nonwoven solutions to the global hygiene and healthcare industries. And to accomplish that, our mission is developing the nonwoven solutions for these industries across the globe, and we're building our business on the aligned value of the company and our employees. We are constantly seeking new ways to involve and grow in dynamic and responsible ways. So just a little bit more, Sandy alluded to this in her opening comments. The project on the next slide would be the installation of 2 machines for providing specialty fabrics to the healthcare industry. You know, as Ford mentioned, I'm really not at liberty to say exactly what those are, but as we are in the midst of a pandemic, we're using all of these items in our daily lives right now. The investment also $18 million for these 2 production machines and some building upfit, and the creation of 22 additional jobs with a wage rate of 15 to 19, as Sandy also mentioned. We're excited about our recent acquisition in High Point, so I thank you for the time tonight.
Thank you, Hal and Ford. Mayor and Council, the High Point EDC staff recommends that the City Council Consider authorizing up to $342,720 in performance-based incentives for this FITESA project. And that you also authorize the city manager to execute a performance agreement with the company containing benchmarks for the company to achieve and a schedule for the payment of such financial incentives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, and also thank you to Hal and Ford. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak concerning this matter? Any questions from council? With that being said, we will hold this over until our 5:30 meeting on Wednesday due to normal protocol. Thursday, that's right. I lost a day. Thank y'all. Good. Normal Monday. And we will take up that matter at that time. And as the mayor alluded to earlier, if there's anyone listening, they can have their comments heard at the city at 883-3522 or email the public comment at highpointnc.gov or drop them off at the boxes on either side of City Hall. So thank you. And again, thank you, Hal and Ford, for your interest, and certainly very excited about the potential opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. The next items on the agenda are the Community Development Committee items, and for that, I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Chris Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is 2021-19 ordinance, demolition of dwelling 216 Underhill. This is an adoption of ordinance to demolition. I will turn this over to Lori Loosemore, the city staff.
Okay, good evening again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
This property at 216 Underhill. Let's see. It's not advancing. Shoot.
Still with us, Lori?
I'm here. My screen is not advancing the
Oh,
slide. I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
just give us a moment. For everyone listening out there, we're waiting to work out this issue. Mayor, maybe we can maybe interested in getting some standby music in the future.
Yeah, we need some hold music, don't we?
I'm gonna try and share it again and see if. Okay. There we go. Okay. So 216 Underhill Street, we originally inspected on March 15th of 2019. We held a hearing on January 21st of 2020. No one appeared for the hearing. It is air property, so we did have to advertise it in the newspaper. We issued an order to repair or demolish on January 23rd of 2020. Finance date of February 27th of 2020. It is delinquent in property taxes in the amount of $12,249 for the years 2007 through 2020. And we have not heard from anyone regarding this property.
All right. Thank you, Lori. For the record, Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment concerning this item?
We have not.
All right. With that said, I guess I still got to go through the motions of opening and closing, but I will make the motion to approve item 2021-19 ordinance demolition of dwelling 216 Underhill Street.
And there's a motion for approval of the ordinance. Is there a second? Which way is that? Okay. Approved by, or I'm sorry, seconded by Councilman Jefferson. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson? Aye. Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. So that item is approved by a vote of 9-0.
Next is item 2021-20 ordinance demolition of dwelling 802 South Elm Street. Again, we'll turn this over to staff. Lori.
The property at 802 South Elm Street, the inspector found it unsecured and made an inspection. We originally inspected it on April 2nd of 2019. We held a hearing on August 29th of 2019. No one appeared for the hearing. The inspector issued an order to repair demolish on August 29th, 2019 with a compliance date of October 2nd of 2019. Just so you know too, the pictures I'm showing next are from the original inspection, as this slide shows. When they went back in the house the other day, some of the rooms were sectioned off, had things in the way that they could not get to them. So I'm just showing the original pictures taken. So the order to repair demolish compliance date was October 2nd of 2019. It is delinquent in property taxes in the amount of $5,147 for the years of 2015 through 2020. And we have not heard from anyone about this property either, any owners.
Thank you, Lori. For the record again, I will ask Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment or anything for this item? Thank you. With that said, I make the motion to approve item 2021-20 ordinance demolition of dwelling 802 South Elm Street.
Okay, there's a motion for approval of the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Holmes. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. That item is approved by a vote of 9-0.
Next, Mayor, let me ask Madam Attorney, my intention is to pull both items out of pending, items 2020-456 and item 2020-422 per request of staff, to turn those back over to staff. Do I need to make those in two different motions, or can I do both? Okay. All right. So in that case, I'll make the motion to move items 2020-456 and item 2020-422 out of pending and over to staff.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion made to remove these two items from pending and turn them back over to staff, which would remove them from our agenda. Motion by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilman Hudson. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. That item is approved by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
All right. Next on the agenda is the planning and development items. I'll be handling those. First is a resolution of intent to establish a public hearing date of February 1st, 2021 to consider the voluntary annexation of 4.21 acres at the eastern terminus of East Springfield Road, approximately 160 feet south of East Springfield Road. The property is known as Guilford County Tax Parcel 196054 and a portion of that, and a portion of Tax Parcel 158007. And I move for approval of that item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Is there any discussion on that item? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters? Councilwoman Peters, how do you vote? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? And the mayor votes aye. I believe that motion is approved. I'm not sure if it's a 9-0 or an 8-0. Or if we consider her a yes, I'm not sure. Councilwoman Peters, are you with us? I think maybe we've lost her. Okay. The first item, there are two items listed for public hearing. I'm going to make a motion at the request of the applicant on the first one. This is the proposed rezoning on Eastchester Drive. The applicant has requested that we continue this item till our meeting on February 15th. So that's to allow them, I think they stated they wanted to get some more information about the positions of the folks at the who serve on the Planning and Zoning Board. So I'm going to go ahead and make that motion to continue that item to our meeting on February 15th. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hudson. Is there any discussion on this item prior to voting? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters, if you're with us? Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? And Mayor votes aye. So that item is continued to our meeting on February 15th, 2021. Next item is zoning map amendment 20-23. This is a request by the city of High Point to rezone various properties, 286 properties. And for that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Herb Shannon from the Planning Department.
Yes, Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department, and I will be providing you with a summary of zoning map amendment request 2023. This is a request to rezone 286 parcels totaling approximately 88 acres as part of the city's comprehensive zoning map amendment project. This request focuses on evaluating various townhomes and multifamily developments near the intersection of Johnson Street and Hartley Drive, East Hartley Drive, and along James Road. As we've stated before, the purpose of the comprehensive zoning map amendment project is to review and evaluate zoning of land throughout the city, identify areas where zoning is out of sync with the existing land use or land and inconsistent with land use policies, and propose changes. This is a blow up of that area under consideration. These various multifamily developments obtained their current zoning approval between 1984 and 2000 under the former development ordinance, which was replaced by our current ordinance in 2017. Except for 3 undeveloped parcels and an existing vacant parcel off of James Road, everything in this area has been developed. And just a quick overview of the areas. I want to start up at the top part of the page where you see 608 and 610 James Road. This area was rezoned in 2000 to support a proposed 18-unit townhome development. You have the one building that's on that site is the former daycare center that has been vacant since 2002. It was purchased by a church in 2002. As no development has occurred since the site was rezoned in 2000, And as ample time has passed, staff is recommending that area be rezoned from its current RM, I believe that's RM5 to, I'm sorry, RM16 to the R3 district. South of that, you have a large area that was rezoned in 1984. You have the Chatham Wood Apartments, Foxcroft Townhome Development, the Windchase Townhomes, a vacant parcel or undeveloped parcel at that northwest corner of Johnson Street and Eastchester Drive, where you see on your map highlighted as 2051 Johnson Street and a portion of 1875 Eastchester Drive. That is land owned by the city that's associated with Oak Hollow Lake. And on the other intersection, you have the existing church, a small parcel where the city has a pump station and an undeveloped parcel. All that area was part of a large rezoning in 1984. There were only conditions pertaining to access as far as putting a cul-de-sac at Rockingham Court to the north and James Court and dedicating land for the extension of East Hartley Drive. All of those projects, to the north, the Chatham Wood Apartments, Foxcroft, and Windchase Townhomes have been developed, and those road improvements have been completed. To the south, you have that church and the pump station in that undeveloped parcel. Staff is recommending this area be rezoned from the RM conditional use RM16 district to RM16 as the conditions pertaining to that zoning case have been met. And finally, you have the Northbridge Townhome Development. That property obtained zoning approval in 1998 for the development of a townhome development. As with the other cases, there were conditions pertaining to dedicating land for the East Hartley Drive extension and conditions on how access is to be attained. Those have all been met. So staff is recommending that area be rezoned from the conditional use RM16 district to RM16, basically removing those old obsolete conditions because all those have been met. Staff is recommending approval of these rezonings. This item was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their December public hearing, and the commission recommended approval by a vote of 9-0. The commission stated that the request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the proposed zoning map amendment are generally supported by the moderate density and medium density land use map designations for each of these areas as contained on the adopted land use map. And the commission also stated that the requests are reasonable in the public interest as the amendments are needed to remove unneeded restrictions on the properties and to remove the conditional use zoning districts which cannot be amended. As always with a zoning request, the council must place into official record a statement of consistencies and explain why the actions are considered reasonable. And that can be accomplished by considering the statements forwarded to you by the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's a quick summary. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Shannon.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, if I may, the owner of the property at 610 James Road, which is tax parcel 199982, which is the very top of your screen. This is one of the properties that was rezoned to multifamily in 2000. The property owner would like that to stay as is and not be part of the rezoning.
Isn't that a little convenience store on the corner?
The store is the
Yeah.
name of the store there.
Yeah.
The property actually splits the store in half.
What would be the impact on that store? I know it would become non-conforming, I guess, or
I think we have a better map that shows that area. Just the southern 50 feet of that parcel is part of this rezoning request. It doesn't split the building. If it's desire of council to remove that area, staff would recommend you remove all of it. You don't want to just leave that 50-foot sliver of conditional use RM16. So if it's council's desire that that area not be part of this request, we will recommend that it would be consider all of 608 and 610 James Road.
Does it change anything for him in the future if he looks to make changes or sell or whatever?
If that property owner to the north desires that portion of the property used for commercial use, they would have to submit for their own zoning application. I believe that convenience store is currently zoned limited business.
Limited business.
If he desires that southern 50 feet of his property to be zoned in that manner, he would need to submit his own zoning map amendment
But
application.
he'd have to do that now too, because it's not zoned limited business now, right?
Correct.
So he's really in no worse off position either way.
Yes, I mean, you would not have commercial zoning
Yeah.
either way on that southern 50 feet of that property.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Council will take action on this item at our meeting on Thursday, January 21st. Actually, before we do that, did we receive any additional public comments on this? Clerk?
Gaius, you have before you a comment from Jerry Corns
That's
that I
all we just talked
received
about.
late in the afternoon, this afternoon, but that's it.
That's it. Okay.
That's the property that we were just talking about.
Yeah. Also, for the folks on the previous case, the Eastchester Drive case, we've received the public comments on that, and you will still be able, in this case or the Eastchester case, you'll still be able to submit comments. On this case, we'll continue to receive comments for a period of 24 hours and may take action at our meeting on Thursday, January 21st. On the Eastchester case, since we continued that, we will continue to receive comments on that up to and including our February 15th meeting. So we'll now move. There is no applicant because we're the applicant.
Yes.
All right. Trying to keep my brain straight there. All right. I appreciate it, Mr. Shannon. So we will bring that back up for action on Thursday. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing regarding this is really correcting some clerical errors, I think, that were made when we went from 2 years to 4-year terms. We didn't change everything that needed to get changed. So, but I'll turn it over to the city attorney for explanation.
Council, we have 2 areas that we're listed in Rule 2 that need to be changed to Rule 4, and this is what that process is all about.
We're correcting typos.
It is. So tonight will be the public hearing for that matter. It will be left open through Thursday, and then you guys will be able to come back and vote on it on February the 1st. I think it's the first meeting in February.
Okay. All right. Everybody got that? So we hear it tonight and then we can vote on it in February.
Yes.
Okay.
Public hearing tonight.
All right.
Left open.
If anybody wants to make any comments on the correction of a few typos, you can send them into the city as we stated before. Regular agenda items. First is a item regarding the Guilford County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Is somebody going to present on that? I had Perry Hall. Perry, there you are. I guess that's you behind that. Who's that masked man? Who is that masked man? I know all the counties and various municipalities are updating their plans right now.
Yes, sir.
So I guess it's our turn.
So the way this works, it's required by FEMA. How's that? This is mandated by FEMA to be done on a county basis, which includes all the jurisdictions, city and the towns. So all the towns within the county. About a year and a half ago, we formed a committee through a contractor and reviewed the plan. The hazard mitigation plan looks at what the hazards are within the county, Guilford County, how we can prevent them, and then if they cannot be prevented, if something occurs, how do we handle it? So FEMA has approved, county commissioners January 7th met and approved it, and now it's each jurisdiction's time. And then once that is approved by all the jurisdictions, it is given back to FEMA for adoption. And there's grant money and things like that that's tied to that as well, eligibility. So.
Yeah, this is a very important thing for us to be eligible for FEMA funds in the event of a disaster.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead then and make the motion for approval of this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hudson. Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore? Aye. Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones? Councilman Jefferson? And the mayor votes aye. That item is approved by a vote of 9-0. We have some reappointments. I'm sorry, excuse me, about to skip over one. Next item is the item 2021-26 Mercer Group. This is the proposed timeline for our city manager search. I was speaking to the city attorney earlier. I don't know that this is something we necessarily have to approve, but they, Mercer asked us to approve it as, since we've contracted directly with them. So I don't think it's not out of order to approve it. I think we've all had an opportunity to talk with our consultant at Mercer Group. Did anybody have any questions on this item? Any comments? Everybody's had a chance to review it? Okay. Then I'll go ahead then and make the motion for approval of this item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Johnson. Any debate?
I have a question.
Yeah.
This reads advertisement timeline. There were a few questions I sent that I don't remember. I may have had to reply to concerning some of the elements side of it.
Mhm.
Does anybody remember if I got it, if we were replied to the group on that?
I think you had a question about the number of potential,
Presented in March.
number of, what do you call them?
Candidate.
Yeah, candidates. A number of potential candidates and how many they would bring us. I think this is it's really kind of a rough draft. I don't know that we're necessarily bound to it, and there were ranges in there.
And Ellis did respond to Britt's question.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to say until we know exactly how big and how qualified the candidate pool is to know what he'll end up bringing back to us. So we may just be in kind of a wait and see mode until we know for sure.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll get a big pool of very qualified people and we'll have a hard time choosing. But any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? Mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 9-0. Next item are reappointments to the Human Relations Commission. There are various folks here. Councilman Hudson is recommending Bev Bandari. Councilman Holmes recommending Stacy Jones. Mayor Pro Tem Moore is recommending Sharon McGregor. And these will all be effective immediately and will expire 11/1/2022. And I'll make the motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
I believe Councilman Holmes, maybe, not that one. Okay, any discussion on these, folks, before voting? Just glad we got folks willing to serve. Always good. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? And the mayor votes aye. Item passes by a vote of 9-0. Next, these are items for reappointment to the Library Board of Trustees. Councilmember Hudson is recommending the reappointment of Rick Cornwell. Councilmember Jones recommended the reappointment of Dorothea Evans. Councilmember Jefferson is recommending the appointment of Bill Phillips. Mayor Pro Tem Moore recommending the appointment of Donna Kaiser to the Library Board of Trustees, effective immediately and expiring October 31, 2023. I will move for approval of that item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any discussion? Library Board's had a tough year. I'm glad we got people willing to serve there too. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? And the mayor votes aye. Item's approved by a vote of 9-0. Next is my appointment of the reappointment of Ashley Tillery to the High Point ABC Board. That term is effective on February 8th, 2021, and will expire 3 years later, February 8th, 2024. And I move for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by
Vic Jones.
Vic or Councilmember Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson? The mayor votes aye. That item is approved by a vote of 9-0. We have some minutes to be approved.
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Jefferson. Any discussion on the minutes? Councilman Holmes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peters?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Williams?
Aye.
Councilman Hudson?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Jefferson?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. The various minutes listed are approved. This council will now stand in recess until Thursday, January 19th at 5:30 for a voting session on the public hearing items.